In East LA, winter don't come soft. When it snows, it's not some Hallmark movie shit with kids making snowmen and hot chocolate. Nah, snow just makes the concrete harder when your face hits it, makes the blood show up brighter. And in the winter of 2019, when that rare storm rolled through and turned our middle school into something that looked almost peaceful, that's when Lost decided to teach everyone the most important lesson of the game. Respect ain't given, it's taken. And debts get paid in full, one way or another. Miguel Hernandez was 14 years old, 7th grader, part of the Mangananzo crew, which was basically just 5 kids who thought wearing the same color bandana made them soldiers. Los had fronted Miguel $400 worth of Adderall and Xanax 3 weeks prior. Easy flip. The private school kids up in Silver Lake were buying that shit like candy. All Miguel had to do was make the exchange, bring back Los's cut. Simple mathematics. But Miguel got stupid. Started thinking Los's reach didn't extend past the 8th grade hallway. Started believing his own crew's hype. Started dodging. First week, it was excuses. I got it tomorrow, bro. My buyer flaked. Second week, Miguel stopped showing up to 4th period, which was the only class he shared with one of Los's toilet washers. Started taking different routes home. Even had his little sister checking the hallways before he moved between classes. You know what that kind of disrespect does to an operation? It spreads. Like cancer. One kid gets away with not paying, suddenly every 2-bit dealer thinks they can run the same game. Los built his empire on 3 principles: supply chain, loyalty, and consequences. And Miguel was about to become a walking billboard for that 3rd principle. I remember the day Los made the call. We were in the maintenance stairwell between the gym and the cafeteria, counting money from the week's collections. $3,200 in 5s, 10s, and 20s. Los had it organized by denomination, rubber-banded, logged in a composition notebook he kept in his backpack. 14 years old, and this kid ran books like a CPA. Jay was there too, spinning a combination lock on his finger, that orange jacket bright as a traffic cone. He was eating hot Cheetos, getting that red dust everywhere, laughing at some video on his phone. That's the thing about Jay. He could go from laughing to violence in a heartbeat. No transition, just pure, explosive energy. Miguel still ain't paid, one of the toilet washers said. Little kid named Cisco, 12 years old, already had cigarette burns on his arms from his stepdad. Los had recruited him because Cisco understood something most kids didn't. When you got nothing to lose, you make the perfect soldier. Los didn't even look up from counting, just kept his hands moving through those bills, precise as a machine. 2 weeks? 2 weeks, 3 days. And he's been seen? Yeah, he's still coming to school, just avoiding certain areas. Los finished his count, wrote a number in his notebook, closed it. Then he looked at Jay, and in that look was everything that needed to be said. But Los being Los, he said it anyway. Made sure there was no confusion. After school, basketball courts, make it public. Jay's grin spread slow across his face. How public we talking? Public enough that nobody else gets ideas, but clean enough that we don't bring heat we can't handle. Los turned to Cisco. Get Puppet and Flacco. 3 of you go with Jay. Nobody touches Miguel except Jay. You 3 make sure nobody interferes. Understood? Cisco nodded. Kid looked excited. That should have told us something right there. When a 12-year-old gets excited about violence, you're building something that's going to be hard to stop. What about the product? Jay asked. He still got it. He sold it, Los said. Spent the money. I already checked. On what? Does it matter? Los's voice went cold. That permafrost tone that meant the decision was made, the sentence handed down. He had 2 weeks to make it right. Now he pays a different way. The basketball courts were covered in 3 inches of fresh snow, made everything quiet, muffled. The chain-link fence around the court had icicles hanging off it, and the backboards were frozen solid. Nobody had played there in days. It was the perfect spot. Isolated enough that teachers wouldn't see from the main building, but visible enough from the street that word would spread. Miguel showed up at 3:47 p.m. We know because Flaco was watching the clock on his phone, documenting everything. That's another thing Loss taught his crew. Keep records. No timelines. Alibis are built on specifics. Miguel wasn't alone. He had 2 Mangananzo kids with him, both 7th graders, both skinny as rails. They were laughing about something, kicking snow at each other, acting like they didn't have a care in the world. Miguel was wearing a black puffer jacket, red beanie, carrying his backpack over one shoulder. From a distance, he looked like any other kid walking home through the first real snow any of us had seen in years. Then Jay stepped out from behind the equipment shed. The thing about Jay that made him so effective, so dangerous, was that he enjoyed it. Not in some psychopath, dead eyes way. He enjoyed it the way other kids enjoyed video games or basketball. It was his talent, his purpose, and he was smiling when he stepped into Miguel's path, that orange jacket standing out against all that white snow like a flame. "Miguel!" Jay's voice carried across the court. Cheerful, friendly almost. "Yo, where you been, bro? We missed you." Miguel stopped walking. His boys stopped too. You could see the calculation happening behind Miguel's eyes. Run or talk, fight or flight. He looked around, saw Cisco emerging from one side, Puppet from the other, Flaco blocking the back exit. 4 on 3, and everyone knew Jay's reputation. I've been around, man, just busy." "Busy?" Jay walked closer, casual, hands in his pockets. "Too busy to pay what you owe? That's interesting. 'Cause Los, he's busy too, busy running a business. And you know what happens to businesses when people don't pay?" Miguel's friends started backing up. Smart kids. They recognized the energy shift, the air getting thinner, the way violence announces itself before it arrives, like that smell before rain. "I got some of it," Miguel said. His voice cracked. 14 years old and his voice was still changing, breaking between words. "I can get the rest by next week. I just need 2 weeks ago you needed 2 weeks. Last week you needed 1 week. Today?" Jay pulled his hand from his pocket. In it was a tube sock, navy blue, with something heavy bulging at the bottom. A combination lock. Basic, effective, untraceable. "Today, you need to learn about accountability." What happened next took maybe 45 seconds. But I'm going to tell it to you slow because this is where everything changed. Where a simple debt collection turned into something bigger. Something that brought war to our doorstep. Jay swung that sock in a wide arc, and Miguel tried to dodge, slipping on the snow. The lock caught him on the side of the head first. Not the nose yet. Just a stunning blow that sent him sideways into the chain-link fence. The sound it made. Metal on skull on metal. That's a sound that stays with you. Miguel's friends ran. Just straight up abandoned him. Cisco and Flaco let them go. They weren't the target. Miguel tried to fight back. Give him credit. Stupid as he was, he had heart. He swung wild, caught Jay on the shoulder, but Jay just laughed. Actually laughed. That high, genuine laugh that made him sound younger than 12. "That's it? That's all you got?" Jay hit him again. This time, clean across the face. The lock crushed Miguel's nose like a soda can. Blood exploded across the white snow, spray pattern like modern art. Miguel went down, hands up, trying to protect himself, and Jay was winding up for another shot when the voice cut through the winter air. "Get the fuck off him!" None of us had seen him approach. The cousin, Rafael Hernandez, 19 years old, high school dropout, and according to every bit of street intelligence Los had gathered, a low-level runner for the Escobar crew. The Escobars were the real deal, not middle school dealers playing dress-up. Actual cartel-connected gangsters who controlled drug flow through half of East L.A. Raphael came through that snow like a bull, and in his right hand was 6 inches of steel, a kitchen knife. Nothing fancy, just sharp and real and completely outside the rules of middle school warfare. Cisco saw it first. "Knife! Jay! Knife!" But Jay was locked in, focused on Miguel, and by the time he turned, Raphael was on him. The blade came in low, aiming for Jay's stomach, but Puppet threw himself between them.
Loyal little soldier, 12 years old, and he took a knife meant for someone else. The blade went into Puppet's shoulder, not deep. The puffer jacket slowed it, and Raphael wasn't trying to kill, just wound. Just send a message. But blood is blood, and when Puppet screamed, everything escalated. Jay dropped the sock and grabbed his water bottle from his backpack. One of those metal hydro flask things that every kid had. Solid steel. He swung it like a hammer, caught Raphael on the hand that held the knife. Bones broke. You could hear it even over Puppet's screaming. The knife fell into the snow, and Raphael grabbed his hand, cursing in Spanish, backing away. "You little fuck! You broke my fucking hand!" Jay advanced. Would have kept going, would have beaten Raphael into the concrete if Flaco hadn't grabbed him. "Jay! Jay, we gotta go! Teacher's coming!" Someone had called it in. Probably one of Miguel's bitch friends. In the distance, you could hear adult voices, the sound of the school security golf cart making its way around the building. They ran. Jay, Cisco, Flaco. Dragged Puppet with them, his shoulder bleeding through his jacket, left Miguel in the snow with his shattered nose, left Raphael clutching his broken hand, left a scene that looked like a war zone. The school called it a gang fight. Suspended 6 kids who weren't even there. Never touched Jay or the others because nobody would name names. That's the power Los had built. Code of silence enforced through reputation and fear. But the Escobars, they didn't play by middle school rules. Los was in his kitchen when his phone rang. His mother was at work, 3rd shift at the hospital. Wouldn't be home until morning. Jay was there too, sitting at the table with a bag of frozen peas on his knuckles, coming down from that adrenaline high, still buzzing. The number was unknown. Los answered on the 3rd ring. "Yeah? This Los?" The voice was adult, male, gravel, and cigarettes. "Who's asking?" "Rafael Hernandez. You know who I am?" Los's face didn't change, didn't show anything, but his eyes went to Jay. And something passed between the brothers. Recognition. Problem. "I know who you are." "Good. Then you know you got a situation. Your little brother and his crew put my cousin in the hospital. Broke my hand. I'm looking at surgery, maybe. Pins, months of physical therapy. Your cousin owed money. He didn't pay. That's business." Raphael laughed. Bitter. Mean. "Business? You're 14 years old playing gangster with lunch money and stolen pills. I'm talking about actual business, the kind with consequences that don't end with detention. What do you want? $2,000, medical costs, pain and suffering. Call it a life lesson." Los was quiet, calculating, running scenarios. "And if I don't pay? Then you and your brother learn a different kind of lesson. The kind that involves real knives, real bullets, real grown men who don't give a fuck that you're in middle school." Raphael paused. "You got 48 hours. I'll send you details where to drop it." The line went dead. Jay was up instantly. "Fuck that. We ain't paying shit. I'll..." "Sit down." Los's voice was ice. Not loud. Didn't have to be. Jay sat. "You hear what he said? 2,000. For what? 'Cause his bitch cousin couldn't handle a simple..." "I heard him." Los was staring at his phone, thinking, 2,000 to make this go away, or we fight. "Then we fight." Jay was up again, pacing. Pure energy, no outlet. "We get the kings together, we catch Raphael slipping, we what?" Los looked at his brother, really looked at him. "We kill him? You ready for that? You ready to put a body on your name at 12 years old? Spend the rest of your life in juvenile? Adult prison by 18? We can't pay. Jay's voice was quieter now, but no less intense. We pay. Everyone knows we paid. Extortion becomes the new game. Every crew with older connections comes at us. The whole operation collapses. And that right there was why, despite everything, Jay wasn't just muscle. He understood the politics, the perception, the reputation economy that their empire ran on. Loss nodded. So, we don't pay, but we don't kill him either. We send a different message. What message? Loss smiled. Not a happy smile. The smile of someone solving a complex equation. Chess, not checkers. We show the Escobars that we're not kids to fuck with, but we're also not dumb enough to start a war we can't win. We hurt Rafael. Bad enough that he knows the cost. Not bad enough that they have to retaliate. And we do it smart. Over the next 18 hours, Loss planned it like a military operation. He recruited 3 kings, 8th graders who'd been with him since 6th grade, soldiers who understood the game. He mapped the school, identified sightlines, teacher patrol patterns, camera blind spots. He synchronized watches, assigned roles, went over it again and again until every person knew their part. The plan was surgical. During lunch period, maximum chaos, minimum actual risk. Jay would start it. A food fight in the cafeteria. Not random, targeted. He'd engineer it to pull security, administrators, every adult with authority toward the noise and the mess. Classic misdirection. While the cafeteria erupted, Loss and the 3 kings would be in the 2nd floor bathroom, the one near the science labs that nobody used during lunch. Rafael had been called to the school. The counselor wanted to discuss Miguel's incident, and Rafael, as the adult family member, had to attend. Loss had confirmed the meeting time through a toilet washer who worked in the office filing papers. Rafael would have to pass that bathroom, and when he did, they'd be waiting. The day came with fresh snow, 3 more inches overnight. The whole school looked like a snow globe. Kids were having snowball fights before first bell. Teachers were calling for calm. Energy was high, chaotic, perfect cover. I want you to understand something about Loss. He didn't enjoy violence the way Jay did. For Loss, it was purely functional, a tool, a language that certain situations required. When he wrapped that padlock in electrical tape for better grip, when he positioned his kings at specific angles for maximum efficiency, when he ran through the timing one final time, there was no emotion, just process. Lunch period started at 11:47. By 11:52, Jay had engineered an argument with a kid from the basketball team. Something about a girl, didn't matter what, just needed heat. By 11:55, food was flying. Mashed potatoes, chocolate milk, trays of nachos. The cafeteria went from controlled chaos to absolute mayhem. Security descended. Vice Principal Chen, 2 campus aides, even the dean of students, all hands on deck to contain 200 students losing their minds in a food war that Jay conducted like a symphony. At 11:57, Rafael Hernandez walked down the 2nd floor hallway toward the counselor's office. His hand was wrapped in a cast. He was on his phone, not paying attention, probably texting one of his Escobar connects about whatever actual criminal shit he was really into. He never saw the bathroom door open. Loss was first. Grabbed Rafael by his good arm, yanked him into the bathroom. Rafael was 19, bigger, stronger. But surprise is everything. By the time he processed what was happening, all 4 of them were on him. I'm not going to glorify it. This wasn't some choreographed movie fight. It was brutal, efficient. Loss hit him with the padlock across the temple. Rafael went down. The kings kicked him. Ribs, stomach, legs, breaking him down, making him small. Rafael tried to fight back, caught one of the kings in the mouth with his cast. But 4 on 1, in a confined space, with weapons. It was over before it started. They beat him for maybe 90 seconds. Then Loss zip-tied his good hand to the urinal pipe, Left him there, conscious but broken, bleeding but breathing. "You tell your people," Los said, crouched down so he was eye level with Raphael, "that we're willing to pay debts we owe, but we don't pay extortion. This is what happens when someone tries to tax us for doing business. You came at us with a knife. We came back with consequences. We're even now. But if the Escobars want to escalate," Los stood up, "then we'll show you how far we're willing to go." They walked out, calm, separated. Each king went a different direction, back to class, back to normalcy, like nothing happened. The bathroom wouldn't be discovered for another 20 minutes. By then, the food fight was over. Jay was in the principal's office, taking his suspension like a badge of honor. Los was in English class reading Steinbeck, hand raised to answer questions about symbolism in Of Mice and Men. The ambulance arrived at 12:31 p.m. Same EMTs who'd been there for Puppet 2 days earlier. East LA schools, they knew the route by heart. Miguel saw it all. Stood at the frosted window of the counselor's office, where he'd been waiting with his mother, his nose bandaged, 2 black eyes, watching his cousin get loaded on a stretcher. And when Miguel's mother asked the counselor if she could take her son home, if this school was even safe, Los was waiting in the parking lot. Yellow camo hoodie dusted with snow, Dodgers hat pulled low, gold chain catching the weak winter sunlight. Miguel's mother went to get the car, left Miguel standing there, backpack over his shoulder, defeated. Los approached, hands in pockets, casual. "You got something for me?" Miguel reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope. His hands were shaking. 400. That's what I owed." Los took the envelope, didn't open it, just looked at Miguel with those cold, calculating eyes. "Interest doubles when you make me work for it. 800 now. You're 400 short." "I don't have your mother's car." Los nodded toward the old Honda in the parking lot. "She keeps her purse in there?" Miguel's face went pale. "You can't." "I can, or you can figure it out. Sell your PlayStation, your bike, your sneakers, I don't care. But you got until tomorrow, same time, same place. 800 total, or next time it's not your cousin on that stretcher." Los walked away, didn't wait for a response, didn't need to. The message was delivered, the lesson taught. Miguel stood there in the snow, watching the ambulance pull away, watching Los disappear around the corner of the building, realizing that the game he thought he was playing had rules he never understood, consequences he never imagined. By the end of that week, Miguel sold everything he owned, got the money, paid in full, plus another 100 in late fees that Los added just because he could. Raphael never pressed charges, never told the Escobars the full story, just said he got jumped by some high school kids, didn't see their faces. Pride wouldn't let him admit that 4 middle schoolers put him in the hospital. The Escobars dropped it. Not worth the heat for a low-level runner's broken pride. But the story spread anyway. Through the hallways, through the neighborhoods, through every crew and corner and dealer in East LA. Los and Jay, the brothers who went up against cartel-connected muscle and won. The 8th grader who planned like a general. The 6th grader who fought like a soldier. Their empire grew. Money increased. Territory expanded. And every kid who owed money, who thought about running, who considered testing Los's reach. They remembered Miguel's broken nose in the snow. They remembered Raphael zip-tied to that urinal. They remembered that in Los's world, debts always got paid. One way or another. And in the game they were playing, reputation was everything. Fear was currency. And that winter, when the snow finally melted and spring came and the basketball courts dried out and filled with kids again, Los and Jay had established something that would carry them through high school, through the real streets, through territory wars and dealer disputes, and all the violence that comes with building an empire from nothing. They'd established that they were willing to go further than anyone expected. That age didn't matter. That size didn't matter. That when you crossed them, when you thought you could take what was theirs or disrespect what they'd built,
There would be consequences, real ones. The kind that put you in hospitals or morgues. The kind that made you wish you'd just paid that $400 when you had the chance. And as Los sat in his kitchen that night, counting out the $800 from Miguel, adding it to the ledger, calculating next week's inventory and profit margins and expansion plans, Jay asked him the question that was on both their minds. You think Rafael's gonna come back once his hand heals? Los didn't look up from his counting, didn't pause, just kept moving through those bills with mechanical precision. He might. People are proud, stupid. They don't always learn the first time. And if he does? Los finally looked at his brother, 12 years old with violence in his eyes and loyalty in his heart. A weapon that Los had sharpened and aimed since they were kids splitting candy money. Then we'll teach the lesson again, harder, until everyone understands that we're not playing games anymore. This is business. This is survival. This is the only life we got, and anyone who threatens it. Los went back to counting. They become examples. That's how empires are built. Outside, the snow was melting, running into gutters, washing away the blood and the evidence and all trace of what had happened on those courts. But the memory stayed, soaked into the concrete, written into the legend of Los and Jay, the brothers who turned a middle school hallway into territory, who turned detention threats into actual power, who understood before anyone else that the game doesn't start when you're grown. The game starts whenever you're ready to play. And if you're not ready for the consequences, for the violence, for the cold calculation of survival in a world that doesn't give a fuck about your age or your excuses, then stay out of the way. Pay your debts. Keep your head down. Because in East LA, even in the snow, even in winter, even in middle school, the streets are always watching, always testing, always ready to swallow anyone weak enough to slip. And Los, Jay, they weren't slipping. They were climbing, one debt, one lesson, one broken body at a time.